Patrick Elliott sneezed as he shifted another box in his late father's storage unit. Dust billowed, catching the weak light filtering through the windows. He paused, wiping his brow with a handkerchief. His eyes fell on an ornate wooden box tucked away in a shadowy corner. "What is this?" he muttered, reaching for it. His fingers traced the intricate carvings, feeling the weight of history in his hands. The latch clicked open with surprising ease. Inside, a single document lay neatly folded. Patrick's brow furrowed as he unfolded it, squinting in the dim light. His eyes widened, then narrowed as he read. What the hell? It was a will. His will, with his signature clear as day at the bottom. The document declared he had been dead for 3 months, leaving everything to his wife, Christine, and a man named Lorenzo Mulla. Patrick's mind raced. How did his signature get there? Who was Lorenzo Mulla? And Christine? His stomach churned at the implications. With shaking hands, he pulled out his phone and carefully photographed the forged will. He replaced it in the box, positioning it exactly as he had found it. As he locked up the storage unit, his heart pounded so loudly he was sure anyone passing by would hear it. The drive home was a blur. Patrick's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, his thoughts a chaotic whirlwind. He pulled into the driveway of their suburban home, its perfectly manicured lawn and cheerful flower beds now seeming like a mockery. He found Christine in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner. The harsh fluorescent lights glinted off the knife in her hand. She looked up, a smile on her face that did not quite reach her eyes. "You are home early," she said, her voice light and casual. Patrick's jaw clenched. He pulled out his phone, sliding it across the counter with the photo of the forged will displayed. To elucidate the situation, Christine's eyes momentarily widened before narrowing with intent. She set down the knife, a smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. "It's easier if you don't resist, Patrick. You'll regret everything if you do." "Who is Lorenzo Mulla?" Patrick demanded, his voice low and controlled despite the fury building within him. Christine's smirk broadened. "That is none of your concern." "None of my concern?" Patrick's voice rose. "My name is on a forged will, leaving everything I possess to you, and this man I have never heard of. How is that not my concern?" Christine's demeanor shifted, her hostility becoming more overt. "Let it go, Patrick. You have no idea what you are getting into." "No, I don't," Patrick agreed, his tone icy. "So why don't you enlighten me?" Christine's eyes flashed dangerously. "You want to play this game? Fine. How about I enlighten your department head about your affair with that graduate student last year?" Patrick's blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" "Oh, don't pretend ignorance," Christine sneered. "I have emails, hotel receipts. It would be such a shame if your pristine reputation were tarnished. I wonder how quickly they would dismiss you." Patrick's mind raced. There had been no affair, no involvement with a graduate student, but he realized with mounting horror how easily Christine could fabricate evidence, how she could twist innocent interactions into something scandalous. "You're bluffing," he said, but uncertainty crept into his voice. Christine's smile was predatory. "Are you willing to wager your career on that?" The full weight of her betrayal struck Patrick like a physical blow. This was not merely about money or a forged will. It was about control, about dismantling his entire existence. "Why?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Christine shrugged, picking up the knife once more. "Because I can. Because you are boring, Patrick, predictable. I want more, and Lorenzo can provide that." "You won't get away with this," Patrick said. Christine's laugh was cold and devoid of mirth. "I already have. This is your final warning, Patrick. Back off, or I will destroy everything." You had worked for her, but she stormed out of the kitchen, leaving Patrick alone with the weight of her threats hanging in the air. For a moment, he stood there, stunned. Then, survival instinct kicked in. He knew he could not stay in that house. Not with Christine, not when she held so many unknown cards. Moving quietly but quickly, Patrick went to their bedroom. He packed a bag with essentials, clothes, toiletries, his passport. In his study, he gathered critical documents, his birth certificate, social security card, and bank statements. He downloaded financial records and emails from their shared computer, copying them onto a flash drive. As he worked, he called his friend and lawyer, Theodore Mears. The call went to voicemail. "Ted, it's Patrick. I need your help. It's urgent. Call me as soon as you get this." He kept the message vague, aware that Christine might access his phone records. Patrick paused in the study, a thought occurring to him. He set up a hidden camera, positioning it to capture most of the room. If Christine or this Lorenzo character came snooping, he would have evidence. He heard the shower start upstairs. It was now or never. Patrick slipped out of the house, tossing his packed bag into the trunk of his car. As he pulled out of the driveway, he caught a glimpse of Christine in the upstairs window, wrapped in a towel, her face twisted in fury. He drove, no clear destination in mind, just the burning need to put distance between himself and the life he thought he knew. His mind whirled with plans, with questions, with the beginnings of a strategy to fight back. As the familiar streets of his neighborhood faded in the rearview mirror, Patrick felt determination settle over him. This was not the end. It was just the beginning of a war he intended to win. Patrick pulled into a small, nondescript motel on the outskirts of town. He paid cash for a week's stay, using a false name. The room was dingy and smelled of stale cigarettes, but it would do for now. He sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands, trying to gather his thoughts. As the day's events unfolded, Patrick's phone buzzed with a text from Christine. "Where are you?" He ignored it, instead pulling out his laptop. He needed to start piecing together what was happening. Who was Lorenzo Mulla? How long had this been going on? And most importantly, how was he going to fight back? Patrick opened his email, scanning through months of correspondence. Nothing stood out at first, but then he noticed a pattern. Small discrepancies in their joint account, money moving that he couldn't account for. His phone buzzed again. Another text from Christine. "You're making a mistake, Patrick. Come home, and we can talk about this." He scoffed, typing out a reply before thinking better of it and deleting it. No, he wouldn't give her the satisfaction of a response. Not yet. Instead, he called his department head, Dr. Saul Godfrey. "Patrick, is everything all right?" "It's rather late," Saul answered, his voice groggy. "I'm sorry to disturb you, Saul," Patrick said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I need to take a leave of absence, family emergency." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Of course, Patrick. Take all the time you need. Is there anything I can do?" Patrick hesitated. Should he tell Saul about Christine's threats? No, not yet. He needed more information first. "No, thank you. I'll keep you updated." After hanging up, Patrick turned back to his laptop. He started a new document, typing out everything he knew so far. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As the first rays of dawn crept through the motel windows, Patrick finally allowed himself to close his eyes. But sleep didn't come easily. His dreams were filled with shadowy figures and betrayal, Christine's laughter echoing in the background. He woke with a start, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar surroundings. Then the events of the previous day came rushing back, and with them, a renewed determination. Patrick showered and changed, then headed out. He needed coffee and a plan. As he sat in a small diner, nursing a cup of bitter coffee, he made a list of his next steps. Step 1. Determine the identity of Lorenzo Mulla. Step 2. Collect evidence regarding the financial discrepancies. Step 3. Consult with Ted concerning legal options. Step 4. Secure his position at the university. His phone buzzed once more. This time, it was Ted returning his call. "Patrick, what's going on?" "Your message sounded urgent." Patrick drew a deep breath. "Ted, I need your help. It's Christine. She's trying to take everything from me. There's a forged will, threats to my career. I don't know what to do." A long pause lingered on the other end of the line. "Christ, Patrick. Okay, where are you? We need to talk face to face." Patrick hesitated. Could he trust Ted? He had known him for years, but then again, he had thought he knew Christine, too. "I'd rather not say right now. Can we meet somewhere neutral? The coffee shop on 5th in Maine?" "Sure, Patrick. I'll be there in an hour." As Patrick waited for Ted, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. Every time the bell above the door jingled, he flinched, half expecting to see Christine or the mysterious Lorenzo walk in. Finally, Ted arrived, looking worried. "Patrick, what the hell is going on?" Patrick took another deep breath and began to explain everything. The forged will, Christine's threats, the mysterious Lorenzo Mulla. Ted listened intently, his frown deepening with each new revelation. "This is serious, Patrick," Ted said when Patrick had finished. "We need to move quickly. First things first, we need to secure your assets. I'll file for an emergency injunction to freeze your joint accounts." Then we need to start building a case. Patrick nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time since discovering the will. What about Christine's threats to my career? Ted's expression hardened. Empty threats. We'll deal with her if she actually tries anything. For now, focus on gathering evidence. Document everything. And Patrick, be careful. If Christine is capable of this, there's no telling what else she might do. As they parted ways, Patrick felt a mix of emotions: fear, anger, determination. But most of all, he felt a renewed sense of resolve. With fierce resolve, Christine and Lorenzo had chosen the wrong man to provoke. He would retaliate, and he would emerge victorious. Patrick Elliott pulled his car into the parking lot of a dilapidated motel on the outskirts of town. The neon sign flickered faintly, half its letters extinguished. He paid in cash for a week's stay, using an assumed name. The room carried the stale odor of cigarettes and desolation, but it would suffice. He settled on the edge of the bed, balancing his laptop on his knees. It was time to begin his investigation. Who, exactly, was Lorenzo Mulla? A swift search yielded more than Patrick had anticipated. Lorenzo Mulla, a charismatic real estate developer, a handsome bastard, with a smile that likely made middle-aged housewives swoon. Patrick's jaw tightened as he scrolled through articles and press releases. Yet, there was something unsettling about Mulla's success. Properties that seemed to materialize from thin air, deals that closed with suspicious speed. Patrick delved deeper, his archaeologist's instinct for unearthing buried secrets taking hold. Hours were spent sifting through public records and newspaper archives, until a pattern began to surface. Lorenzo had a type: wealthy women, usually married. He would sweep in, charm them, and somehow end up with their fortunes. The women were left impoverished and humiliated. Son of a bitch, Patrick muttered under his breath. He pulled up his own bank records next. There it was, a series of substantial transfers from their joint account to a company he did not recognize. A quick search confirmed his suspicion. It was one of Lorenzo's shell corporations. Patrick's hands trembled with fury as he opened his email. He had to know the extent of this betrayal. How long had Christine been deceiving him? The answer sickened him. Months of correspondence between Christine and Lorenzo, concealed in a secret folder, laid out their scheme in nauseating detail. They discussed how to manipulate Patrick, how to drain his finances, how to abandon him with nothing. Patrick slammed the laptop shut, while rising in his throat. He had been a fool, blind to what was unfolding right before his eyes. But no more. He was going to fight back, and he was certain he would prevail. He reached for his phone and dialed Theodore Mears. "Ted, it's Patrick. We need to talk. I've found something." Across town, Christine paced restlessly through Lorenzo's sleek downtown apartment. "He's gone," packed a bag and disappeared. Lorenzo lounged on the leather sofa, looking entirely unconcerned. "Relax, darling. Where is he going to go?" Christine glared at him. "You don't know Patrick. He's not as stupid as you think." Lorenzo's eyes narrowed. "Watch your tone. Remember who got you out of that boring life." Christine bit back a retort. She had made her choice, for better or worse. "We need to move faster, before he figures out what's really going on." Lorenzo stood and pulled her close. "Don't worry your pretty little head. I've dealt with his type before. By the time he realizes what's happening, it will be too late." Patrick met Ted at a quiet coffee shop the next morning. The lawyer listened with growing disbelief as Patrick laid out what he had discovered. "Jesus, Patrick, this is bigger than I thought. We need to build an airtight case." Patrick nodded. "I'm not stopping until I take them both down. What's our next move?" Ted leaned in. "We need more allies. People who can vouch for your character and protect your interests." "Who can we trust?" Patrick thought for a moment. "Dr. Saul Godfrey, my department head. He's always had my back. And there's a former student of mine, Trevor Joseph. He's a private investigator now." Ted nodded approvingly. "Good. I'll start building the legal case. You reach out to them. And, Patrick, be careful. These people are dangerous." Patrick's next stop was the university. He found Dr. Godfrey in his office, surrounded by stacks of papers and ancient artifacts. "Patrick, come in, come in. How's that family emergency?" Patrick closed the door behind him. "Saul, I need your help. It's worse than I thought." He laid out the situation: the forged will, Christine's betrayal, Lorenzo's scheme. Saul listened in stunned silence. "My God, Patrick. What can I do? I need you to protect my position here." Christine has threatened to ruin my reputation. My career is threatened by false accusations. I cannot lose everything I have worked for. Saul's expression grew resolute. Not on my watch. You're one of our best, Patrick. I will ensure the board understands this. Take whatever time you require to resolve this matter. Relief washed over Patrick. Thank you, Saul. I will not forget this. His next call was to Trevor Joseph. The young man answered on the second ring. Professor Elliot. This is unexpected. Trevor, I have a task for you. It's complicated and deeply personal. Are you interested? There was a brief silence on the other end of the line before Trevor responded. For you, Professor? Absolutely. What do you need? Patrick detailed the situation. Trevor emitted a low whistle. That's quite a predicament, Professor. But don't worry, I'm on it. I'll begin investigating Lorenzo's background and see what secrets I can uncover about his past. With his team assembled, Patrick felt a surge of hope. He was not alone in this struggle. His final call was to his sister, Charlotte. She answered with her characteristic cheerful tone, though it swiftly transformed into concern as Patrick spoke. Oh, Pat, I'm so sorry. Of course you can stay with me for as long as you need. Patrick's voice tightened with emotion. Thanks, Char. I don't know what I would do without you. That evening, they gathered at Charlotte's house. Patrick, Ted, Saul, Trevor, and Charlotte. The dining room table was blanketed with documents, laptops open to various files and records. Ted assumed command of the situation. All right, let's construct our case. Trevor, what have you discovered about Lorenzo? Trevor smiled knowingly. Oh, you're going to appreciate this. Our subject Lorenzo has quite the history. I've uncovered at least 3 other instances where he seduced wealthy women and defrauded them. He's skilled at concealing his tracks, but not sufficiently. Patrick leaned forward intently. Can we use this evidence in court? Ted nodded firmly. Absolutely. It establishes a clear pattern of behavior. What else do we have? Saul added his contribution. I've secured Patrick's position at the university. Any attempts to discredit him will encounter fierce opposition. Charlotte gently squeezed Patrick's hand. And you have a safe place to stay for as long as you need it. Patrick looked around at the assembled faces, taking in the collective determination and support surrounding him. His allies felt a surge of gratitude. Thank you, all of you. I couldn't do this alone, Ted said, clearing his throat. Now, we need to be smart about this. Patrick, you need to lay low. Let us do the legwork. The less Christine and Lorenzo know about what we're doing, the better. Patrick nodded reluctantly. He hated feeling helpless, but he knew Ted was right. As the meeting broke up, Patrick pulled Trevor aside. There's one more thing. I need you to keep an eye on Lorenzo's office. If you can plan a listening device, even better. Trevor raised an eyebrow. That's walking a fine legal line, Professor. Patrick's face hardened. I don't care. I need to know what they're planning. Trevor studied him for a moment, then nodded. All right, I'll see what I can do. Days passed. Patrick threw himself into the investigation, poring over financial records and emails. He barely slept, fueled by a burning need for justice. It was nearly midnight when Trevor called. Professor, I'm outside Lorenzo's office. The cleaning crew just left. If I'm going to plant that bug, now's the time. Patrick's heart raced. Do it, but be careful. He paced Charlotte's guest room, waiting for Trevor to call back. An hour passed, then 2. Just as he was about to call Trevor, his phone buzzed. Trevor? What happened? Professor, you're not going to believe this. I almost got caught. Lorenzo and Christine showed up just as I was finishing. Patrick's blood ran cold. Are you all right? Did they see you? No, I hid in a supply closet. But Professor, I overheard them talking. They're planning to have you committed. They're going to claim you're having a mental breakdown. Patrick's mind raced. This was worse than he'd imagined. Did you get the bug planted? Yeah, it's in place. But Professor, there's something else. In my haste to get out, I think I left something behind, a pin. It has the university logo on it. Patrick cursed under his breath. All right, get out of there. We'll deal with this in the morning. He hung up, his mind whirling. They were trying to have him committed. It was a clever move they had committed. If they succeeded, everything he said would be dismissed as the ravings of a madman. He had to move fast, but as he reached for his laptop, a wave of exhaustion washed over him. When was the last time he had slept? He could not remember. Patrick sank onto the bed, closing his eyes for just a moment. He would rest for a few minutes, then get back to work. He woke with a start, sunlight streaming through the windows. His phone was buzzing insistently. "Hello," he answered, his voice groggy. "Patrick, it's Ted. We've got a problem. Christine's lawyers have filed a petition for emergency guardianship. They're claiming you're mentally incompetent." Patrick sat up, fully awake now. "On what grounds?" "They're saying you've been exhibiting erratic behavior, making wild accusations. They've got statements from your neighbors about you leaving suddenly in the middle of the night." Patrick's mind raced. That was when he had left after confronting Christine. "Damn it." Ted's voice was grim. "This is serious, Patrick. If they succeed, you'll lose control of everything. Your assets, your decision-making power, everything. What do? We fight back hard. I'm filing counter motions now. We need to show you're of sound mind. That means you need to be visible, Patrick. Go to work. Act normal. Don't give them any ammunition." Patrick nodded, even though Ted could not see him. "Understood. Thanks, Ted." He hung up. Christine and Lorenzo had underestimated him. They thought he would run, hide, act irrationally. Instead, he would face this head-on. As he dressed for work, Patrick caught sight of himself in the mirror. He looked tired and drawn, but his eyes burned with determination. He was not going to let them win. Not now, not ever. Patrick Elliott sat in Dr. Saul Godfrey's office, his fingers drumming an impatient rhythm on the armrest. The plan was in motion, but everything hinged on Lorenzo taking the bait. "Are you sure this will work?" Saul asked, worry lines creasing his forehead. Patrick's jaw clenched. "It has to. We're out of options." The phone on the desk began to ring. The telephone on Saul's desk rang, startling them both. Saul answered, his eyes widening as he listened. "It's for you," he said, handing the receiver to Patrick. "It's Lorenzo Mullen." Patrick drew a deep breath, steadying himself. "Mr. Mullen," he said, "what a pleasant surprise." Lorenzo's voice dripped with charm. "Dr. Elliott, I hope I'm not interrupting. I've got a business proposition I think you'll find very interesting." Patrick's free hand clenched into a fist, but his tone remained even. "I'm all ears." "I understand you've made quite the archaeological discovery," Lorenzo continued. "I'd love to discuss some development opportunities, perhaps over dinner." Patrick forced a laugh. "Why wait? I'm free now if you are. The faculty lounge is private, and I'm sure you'd appreciate the discretion." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Certainly. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Patrick hung up, meeting Saul's concerned gaze. "It's on. You know what to do." Saul nodded, reaching for his phone to set the rest of the plan in motion. 20 minutes later, Patrick sat in the faculty lounge, a hidden microphone taped to his chest. The door opened, and Lorenzo Mullen strode in, all gleaming teeth and expensive suit. "Dr. Elliott," he said, "a pleasure to finally meet you." Lorenzo's handshake was firm, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. Patrick gestured to a chair. "Please sit. I'm curious to hear about these development opportunities." Lorenzo leaned forward, his voice low and conspiratorial. "Let's cut to the chase, shall we? I know about the artifacts you've uncovered. Priceless, I'm sure. But think of the potential if that land were repurposed." Patrick raised an eyebrow. "Repurposed? A luxury resort, condos, a golf course, the possibilities are endless." Lorenzo's eyes gleamed with greed. "Of course, such a project would require creative solutions to certain regulations." "Creative solutions?" Patrick prompted, his hand casually adjusting his tie to ensure the microphone captured every word. Lorenzo chuckled. "Come now, Dr. Elliott. We're both men of the world. For the right price, any obstacle can be overcome. Overcoming the required permits would expedite the inspections, and passing the artifacts through their relocation." Patrick leaned back, his face carefully neutral. "And what would my role be in this venture?" "Your expertise would be invaluable, and, of course, your silence. In return, you'd be handsomely compensated." Lorenzo pulled out a piece of paper, sliding it across the table. "I've taken the liberty of drafting some preliminary figures." Patrick glanced at the paper, his eyebrows rising at the number of zeros. "This is substantial." Lorenzo's smile widened. "Consider it a down payment. There's much more where that came from." Patrick stood and paced the room. "It's certainly an intriguing offer. But I have to ask, Mr. Mullen, how can I trust you? After all, I've heard some unsavory rumors about your business practices." Lorenzo's smile faltered for a moment before returning full force. "Rumors are just that, Dr. Elliott, jealous competitors spreading lies. I assure you, my business dealings are entirely above board. Patrick turned, facing Lorenzo. Really? So if I were to look into your past projects, I wouldn't find any irregularities? No swindled investors? No mysteriously vanishing funds? The color drained from Lorenzo's face. What are you implying? Patrick's voice hardened. I'm not implying anything. I'm telling you that I know exactly who you are and what you've done. To those other women, to my wife, to me. Lorenzo stood abruptly, his charm evaporating. You have no proof. Patrick smiled coldly. Don't I? This entire conversation has been recorded. Lorenzo, your offer to bribe me, your admission of planning to violate regulations. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Lorenzo lunged forward, grabbing Patrick by the shirt. You son of a, I'll destroy you. The door burst open. Ted Mears walked in, followed by 2 police officers. Lorenzo Mulla, you're under arrest for attempted bribery, conspiracy to commit fraud, and a host of other charges we'll be adding as we dig deeper. As the officers handcuffed Lorenzo, Patrick straightened his shirt. Oh, and Lorenzo, you might want to call your lawyer. I have a feeling you're going to need a lawyer, Lorenzo snarled as he was led away. This isn't over, Elliot. Patrick watched him depart with a sense of satisfaction settling over him. One down, one to go. The next morning, Patrick stood in the police station, observing through a 2-way mirror as detectives interviewed Christine. She sat ramrod straight, her face a mask of indignation. This is ridiculous, she snapped. I don't know anything about forged wills or embezzlement. The detective slid a folder across the table. Then perhaps you can explain these emails between you and Mr. Muller, or these bank transfers. Christine's composure fractured. I want my lawyer. Patrick turned to Ted, who stood beside him. What now? Ted's smile was predatory. Now we go for the jugular. I filed for an emergency divorce and asset freeze. Dr. Godfrey is prepared to make a statement to the board backing you completely, and Trevor's evidence on Lorenzo's past crimes is damning. Patrick nodded, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. Let's finish this. The following days unfolded in a whirlwind. Patrick presented the forged will and financial records to the police, watching as the case against Christine and Lorenzo grew stronger by the hour. Trevor Joseph's investigation had uncovered a trail of victims across 3 states, each with a similar story of seduction and betrayal. Dr. Godfrey stood before the university board, his voice ringing with conviction. Dr. Elliot is not only innocent of any wrongdoing, but he has been the victim of a vicious conspiracy. This university stands behind him completely. Christine and Lorenzo's attempts to fight back crumbled under the weight of evidence. Their lawyers grew increasingly desperate as each new piece of information came to light. Finally, the day of the trial arrived. Patrick straightened his tie as he prepared to take the stand. Ted gave his shoulder a reassuring squeeze. You've got this, Patrick. Just tell the truth. Patrick nodded, stepping up to the witness stand. As he was sworn in, he caught sight of Christine and Lorenzo both looked pale and defeated. Dr. Elliot, the prosecutor, began. Please tell the court how you discovered the forged will. Patrick took a deep breath and commenced his account. He spoke of finding the will in his father's storage unit, of confronting Christine, and of the threats and manipulation. He detailed the investigation, the evidence they had uncovered, and the elaborate trap they had set for Lorenzo. As he spoke, Patrick could see the jury's expressions shifting from skepticism to outrage. Christine's lawyer attempted to portray Patrick as unstable, but his calm, measured responses undermined their efforts. Dr. Elliot, Christine's lawyer, sneered, Isn't it true that you've been under immense stress lately, that you've been acting erratically? Patrick's gaze remained steady. The only stress I've been under is that caused by discovering my wife's betrayal and the plot to steal everything I've worked for. My actions have been those of a man fighting to uncover the truth and protect himself from those who would destroy him. The lawyer faltered, unable to shake Patrick's composure. As the trial progressed, the prosecution's case appeared insurmountable. Bank records, emails, recorded conversations, the evidence accumulated, painting a damning portrait of Christine and Lorenzo's scheme. Then came the moment that sealed their fate. Lorenzo, seeing the writing on the wall, turned on Christine. It was all her idea, he shouted, pointing at Christine. She came to me, said she was tired of her boring husband, wanted more excitement, more money. She's the one who forged the will. Christine's face contorted with rage. You lying bastard. You're the one who seduced me, who came up with this whole plan. The courtroom erupted into chaos as Christine and Lorenzo hurled accusations at each other. The judge's gavel banged repeatedly, calling for order. In the end, the jury's deliberation was brief. The verdict was unanimous, guilty on all counts. The judge's voice was stern as he delivered the sentence to Christine, Elliot, and Lorenzo. Lorenzo Mulla, your actions have demonstrated a callous disregard for both the law and fundamental human decency. You preyed upon trust and manipulated emotions for your own selfish gain. I hereby sentence you both to 15 years in prison, with no possibility of parole for 10 years. Patrick watched as Christine and Lorenzo were led away in handcuffs, their faces masks of shock and anger. He felt no satisfaction, no joy, only a profound relief that it was finally over. Outside the courthouse, reporters clamored for a statement. Patrick stepped up to the microphones, with Ted and Dr. Godfrey flanking him. Justice has been served today, Patrick said, his voice steady. But this is not a victory to celebrate. It is a tragedy, a stark reminder that trust can be betrayed, and that people are not always what they seem. My hope is that others can learn from this, that they can be more vigilant and more aware. He paused, looking directly into the cameras. To anyone out there who has been victimized, who has been manipulated or swindled, do not give up. Fight back. The truth will come out. As the reporters shouted questions, Patrick turned away. He caught sight of his sister, Charlotte, standing at the edge of the crowd. She gave him a small, proud smile. Patrick walked down the courthouse steps, feeling lighter with each step. The road ahead would be challenging, rebuilding his life, learning to trust again, but he had emerged stronger and wiser, ready to face whatever came next. As he reached the bottom of the steps, Patrick took a deep breath of the crisp autumn air. For the first time in months, he felt hope, not just for himself, but for all those who had been victimized by Christine and Lorenzo. Their reign of deception was over. Patrick turned to Ted and Dr. Godfrey. Thank you, both of you. I couldn't have done this without you. Ted clapped him on the shoulder. You did all the hard work, Patrick. We just provided the backup. Dr. Godfrey nodded in agreement. The university is lucky to have you, Patrick. Take some time off, decompress. Your position will be waiting for you when you're ready. Patrick smiled. Genuinely, this time, I appreciate that, Saul. But I think what I need now is to get back to work, to return to normalcy. As they walked away from the courthouse, Patrick's phone buzzed. It was a text from Trevor. Drinks to celebrate. First round's on me. Patrick chuckled, typing back a quick reply. Sounds perfect. Meet you in an hour. He pocketed his phone and looked up at the sky. The sun was breaking through the clouds, casting a warm glow over the city. It felt like a sign, a promise of brighter days ahead. Patrick Elliott had faced betrayal, fought back against seemingly insurmountable odds, and emerged victorious. He had reclaimed his life, exposed the truth, and ensured justice was served. The road ahead would be challenging, but Patrick knew he was ready. He had emerged from this ordeal stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. As he walked toward his car, Patrick allowed himself a small smile. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in months, he was looking forward to it. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you for your time. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.